A story that takes place in my country, my province, my city, Toronto. Can't say most adaptations of this Canadian classic have moved me, though the beat 'em up is a fantastic time. I'm off duty, but I can wrap up a case like this in my sleep and I've got some time. Did you know bread makes you fat? Let's talk about the graphic novel, Scott Pilgrim. Back in the year 2004, a pretty important, influential piece of fiction was written and drawn by Brian Lee O'Malley. It is called Scott Pilgrim, and the original run of the graphic novel series ended in about 2010. The story was so popular that it got a live-action adaptation, a video game, and recently a new animated TV show. They came out with a full-colored version of the story in recent years and a version with all the evil X's on the cover. That'll make sense later. I read the version that had color. I never actually read Scott Pilgrim in black and white. Ever. I know I'm late, as the series has been completed for many years, but this has become one of my all-time favorite series in general across all media. The video game is extremely fun, and the movie was surprisingly not upsetting. I can't say Scott Pilgrim Takes Off has moved me. I'll circle back to this because what I want to attempt to do is entice people to buy, read, and or give the graphic novel a fair shake. Please like the video, subscribe, ring that bell, and let's talk about how bread makes you fat. Every once in a while, there comes a story with a plot synopsis so captivating, you can't help but be compelled by the concept. One example is a manga called Oretama, My Balls in English. Long story short, Lucifer is sealed in the testicles of the main character, who is a chronic masturbator. Now if he comes, he'll release the demon and Earth will get destroyed and it's fucking comedy gold, bro. The central plot for Scott Pilgrim is that Scott, a 23-year-old musician in between jobs, must defeat the 7 evil exes of his new girlfriend in order to date her. In peace. The main story for this comic book was too amazing to be ignored, so I picked it up. This story starts off relatively normally in downtown Toronto, with Scott dating a high schooler. Yeah, look, I'm not here to make some profound comment on that or moral judgment. Make of it what you will. It's fiction, it's not real, I don't agree with it, but back then, we weren't that sensitive as a people, and with that, I'm moving on. Scott has been sad about a previous relationship for like over a year and is dating a 17-year-old to cope with it. He lives, he bums off of his roommate Wallace Wells, who's gay if that detail is important to you. They only have one bed, which they share, and if any one of them has company for the night, the other one has to find somewhere else to stay or something else to do. Now, while dreaming one night, a pink-haired girl on rollerblades appears in Scott's dream. Unable to get her out of his head, he's distracted all day. He's distracted at band practice. They are called sex bombs. And even while with his high school girlfriend, Knives Chow, still distracted. He would see this girl in real life later and then meet her at a party. And that's pretty much where it all begins. Won't spoil any more of the details because it's better when experienced, and I want you to go in blind. You might notice that I haven't dived deeply into some of these characters or concepts, but I plan to speak more in depth on them in later videos. At a first glance, Scott Pilgrim might seem like an action-focused series modeled after shonen manga like Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and not to say that it isn't, but at its core, it's really a love story. Romance, cheating, drama, heartbreak are all present all over the narrative, and this story's main focus is for Scott to be able to date Ramona Flowers. That's her name, by the way. There are obstacles that get in the way of their relationship aside from Ramona's 7 evil exes. The other characters have their own share of issues concerning the matters of the heart, and not everyone gets a happily ever after. While events that happen can be insane, the core themes of the narrative are realistic, and at its center, it's loved related. I used to call Nanatsu no Taizai, 7 Deadly Sins, a love story disguised as a battle shonen, and I would argue in many aspects you can say something similar about this comic book. Initially, when I was witnessing the book's artistry, I didn't think it'd be suited for action, just comedy, but I was very wrong. The fights are actually really dope. Luckily for me, I read it in all color, which could have added to my enjoyment of the action sequences, I'm not sure, but they were well done nonetheless. The comic is also extremely hilarious. Scott's remarks and responses to some very normal questions are hilarious. One asked about the future, as in his future plans, he responded with a confused look like, You mean like hoverboards and jetpacks and stuff? Oh, Scott. One of Ramona's exes has psychic powers, and the reasoning behind why he has them has to be the best reason I've ever seen. It's so funny. There are always the character quirks some of the people in the story have, which are also hilarious to experience. The characters in this narrative are also really excellent. Scott is relatable, especially for me since I was the same age as Scott when I started reading it and I'm living in the same city. He's got baggage from his past, including exes and such that affect him to this day, and he ain't living wealthy. Scott makes mistakes, gets scared, gets hurt, hurts people, and is in the pursuit of happiness just like all of us. Ramona carries the weight of the world on her shoulders and can often come across as aloof and detached. She's kind of shady, but you can tell there's something big holding her back from just opening up and being completely happy in general. And with Scott, Knives has a fantastic character arc, and by the end of the story, I was super proud of her growth. Kim Pine, the best character, best girl.
This act is over.
Young Neil and the rest of the cast all have their own shit to deal with, and some of their character arcs end quite unexpectedly. My major criticisms come from how crazy it can all get and throw off some readers, and the dialogue is rather simple. It's definitely more realistic that way because some stories have every character speak as if they're all accomplished English majors with the most eloquent of vocabularies, but yeah, it's simple. As a seasoned anime watcher and manga reader, the absurd, over-the-top types of narratives do not intimidate me or throw me off in the slightest. Yeah, Japan, you can be a little weird, but I can absolutely see that throwing off some readers. I don't want to go on too long about this series since it's been out for over a decade, but if you haven't checked out this graphic novel, it's time. The artwork is unique, the characters are phenomenal, the story is amusing, funny, and full of great action. This is one of my personal favorite romances, and Scott Pilgrim is a great piece of fiction, and if you don't want to read the books, at very least check out the live action film. Still, I highly recommend the comic books over something like the new animated show, but that's up to you. I did my job. Read the comic. This case was an easy, open and shut one for me. I just want to say I don't have anything against the new show, but it was marketed as a faithful adaptation, and it isn't that. Which is okay, but they should have been honest about that, so off principle, I didn't watch more than 2 episodes, and I put my straw hat on. I made this video for the people who wanted to experience the original story in its original medium. Thank you for watching. Like the video.
Garlic bread is my favorite food. I could honestly eat it for every meal, or just eat it all the time without even stopping.
You get fat.
No, why would I get fat?
Bread makes you fat.
Bread makes you fat?